We have only 35 chambers. There is no 36.
I know that. But I want to create a new chamber.
And what would that be?
I think Shaolin techniques should be available to all. So then, that's my idea for a new chamber. To teach the martial arts to the people. Anybody.
All right, y'all, welcome back to another episode of My Three Cents. On this one, I want to talk about awakening. What is awakening? And this is for all my more advanced listeners. All right, this is one for y'all. So I'm noticing that you guys are really listening to the awakening episodes and the chakra episodes. So I'm kind of getting a feel for what y'all are looking for. So let's go. Now, when I talk about awakening, I am an activated individual. A lot of y'all don't know what that means. That's why activated people can't deal with too many people. That's also why activated people will lose friends, family members won't mess with you, all kind of stuff will happen because they will still be very much into the world. Hey, it is what it is. People are where they are. Don't judge them. Now, when we're talking about awakening, the first thing we got to talk about is DNA. Why is this important? Well, right now there's a thing going around that none of us are not allowed to mention. We'll call it the vaccine, and we'll say that you got to take that for the iris, right? We'll just call it those names. I know you know what I'm talking about. So what's different about this vaccine? It's never been done before. Well, this one is what they call an mRNA vaccine. So if you have not studied genetics, if you have not studied yourself, if you haven't studied DNA, cellular structures, atoms, you're not going to know what RNA is. RNA is inside basically a building block for DNA. So this vaccine is one that has never before been done. Brand new. So for all y'all volunteering out there to get it and be the part of the experiment, just know that that's what it is. Many other ways to protect yourself in this realm. Change your diet. Stop taking in sugar. Quit drinking alcohol. Drink alkaline water. Eat raw food. Eat electric raw food. There's plenty of things you can do to stand up against this thing, right? So with this, a lot of the fears in the awakened community is the fact that this is going to affect your RNA, which will affect your DNA, and we won't know how until enough time goes by. You got to understand, when they fast track things, there hasn't been any years, there hasn't been time. No one knows how things end up. And this is another thing that's fueling the people that have taken it to kind of force other people to take it. Right? A lot of us can clearly see through this stuff because they never cared about you before. I've never seen them put out a massive shot for AIDS. Right? Which has a 100% death rate normally, if it is what it is. So this, with a much smaller death rate, seems to be a lot more important, and I'm going to leave it at that. I don't want to start any conspiracy theories. We don't believe in those anyway, right? So, DNA. What is the purpose of DNA? What does that do here in this Earth atmosphere, in this structured reality that your brain is helping you create every time you open your eyes to perceive? Well, DNA basically studies and records your entire experience. Think of your DNA as the camera that you can't cut off, and it's always on record. Sees everything, feels everything as well. Right? This is the thing you can't lie to. Okay? So DNA is something. Let's get into the metaphysics. Let's get into the spiritual. Let's get into the unseen of the DNA, because we know that everything here that you can perceive and see with these two eyes also does exist in the unseen. Everything you see here exists in the unseen. The unseen rules over the gross plane. Think about that now. Everything has to be thought of before it can be created in a way that everyone else can see it. Right? You would think it was invasive if people started reading your mind. Why? Because that is where things are that you haven't really let out yet. So I just wanted to show an example that, remember, the unseen rules over the gross plane of the seen. Okay, and so what you got to understand about DNA, the purpose of it, why it records your experience here on Earth and other places. Because remember, we're not talking about the DNA that they can study under a microscope and physically end up seeing. I'm talking about what that represents in the unseen. It represents the spiral. What happens when you have a spiral and you just keep turning it around? It seems to go on forever. This is symbolic. Okay? So this is the thing that records, acknowledges your experience. How do you know that that's true here in the earth form? Well, this is why your children come out looking like you. It's very simple. The reason they look like you is because information has been passed outward and become another form of you. Right? So DNA is very powerful in its physical form, so just imagine how powerful it is in the unseen and what it represents and how much information it's actually holding, right? So what this is going to do while you're here having the earth experience is going to record your experience. It's going to record everything about it. It's going to sum it up. Okay? This is what programs earth knowledge into your genetics, your DNA. This is why if you gain certain habits as a person and then have a child, the probability of that child having those habits skyrockets because it's only you again. Why would you not have what you have if you break a piece of yourself off? Would you not still be the same thing? This is why we get into the whole conversation about the sins of the father will be revisited by the son. This is the knowledge that one is only the other anyway. You can call it what you want. It's just one thing. We're perceiving things as quote unquote separate, but there's no such thing as that. All right, this gets into quantum entanglement. All these things I'm mentioning, go back, listen to them, write them down, look them up, start doing your own thing. So the DNA, right, records everything that happens on this Earth mission. Let's just talk about the Earth mission. The Earth mission is to actually teach the spirit Earth lessons, right? It is to program Earth knowledge into a genetic structure. That is all this is. The genetic structure of knowledge and information we can refer to as the spirit man, the spirit body, however you want to put it. Many people put it different ways. That is what this unseen accumulation of everything represents. That is you, right? The you and the unseen. More powerful than the you that everybody is experiencing here. This is just a version of you. You getting it? So I also want to say that there is a difference between learning and remembering when it comes to talking about the earth experience and genetic recording. Okay? There's a difference between learning and remembering. And this might be what a lot of you guys are figuring out, because this is where I get into more of the awakening talk. Right? So there's a reason that we eventually figure out that there's a difference between learning and remembering. Once we figure that out, this is when the awakening starts. Because in the earth experience, you got to think of earth as a class. It's one class, right? Now, let me break that down really fast. Earth, remember, is also heart chakra. All right? If you take the word earth, you take the H off the back and move it to the front, you're only going to have the word heart, because everything here has to be done in codes or make some type of mathematical sense to become something else, right? So there has to be a proper equation, right? So earth being heart chakra, and when you just tap into that just a little bit, you understand that there are 6 other chakra on the physical body that have to play a part. So this would immediately allow you to understand that earth would be one lesson. One. This isn't everything, obviously, because when your loved ones leave, you don't even know where they went. And you're sitting down here being sad. Really, they're sad for you, and I can tell you that. Because you're still here. They're not. You see, a lot of us suffer here because we don't know why we're here or what we're doing here. That's the issue. You have to study yourself. The best knowledge you can get is self-knowledge. That's the most powerful knowledge in this realm, is knowledge of self, right? And this is going to include everything in the realm, from the ground to the stars, as above, so below, as within, so without. You guys know what I'm talking about. And if you're still in the Christian phase, they're telling you the same thing. This is about Christ consciousness. And when they say as above, so below, they just say on earth as it is in heaven. Okay? Earth is always the body. That's why they say the body of earth. This is all symbolism. This just means physical plane as it is in the unseen realm. Right? How can you easily, even just thinking as a Christian, how can you just link earth and heaven and say, boom, same thing, right? You got to understand what that really means. If as above, so below, on earth as it is in heaven, then you got to understand. In that sense, heaven is the mind frame. Heaven is the highest mind frame. This is crown chakra representation, right? So as heaven, so is earth. As you think, so do you do, right? As above, so below. Right? I'm just giving, these are codes for my more advanced listeners. You guys know what I'm talking about. You've already studied a lot of this stuff. So the awakening process is recognizing and realizing that this is a moment. And it also has to do with you realizing that you're not this. You're not this. This is all somewhat of a show. This is why they make movies like The Truman Show, because they're trying to show you to put yourself as the main character. When you're reading the Bible, when you're watching movies, when you're watching TV shows, you're the main character. Think about it. You're the hero. You're the hero. Right? So, I mean, and even just to prove that really fast, this is why when you watch a movie and something is happening to the main character, you are actually getting the physical symptoms of as if it was happening to you. True or false? You're sitting there with your heart beating watching a movie while you're at home. So this is another way to show the unseen connections of things are stronger and more powerful than what we perceive to be the seen connections. I can reach out to you in my mind that would touch you more than holding your hand in person. So some even say that, and I know some of you guys have probably heard this, some would even say that we're asleep in a higher dimension, dreaming this reality. Right? And for those of you that dream, and they're avid dreamers, you don't know the difference. Guys, you know, those of y'all that know me, you know I have this, I call it a disorder at times. I don't know what to call it, but I can't sleep without dreaming, without having these extremely involved dreams. It's been like that my entire life. So a lot of my memories are just, I don't know, you know, half the time I didn't know if something was a real memory or a dream memory. That's just something I had to learn to cope with because it was doing more good for me than anything else. While everybody else is sleeping, I'm working. While everybody else is sleeping, I'm literally going through situations and conquering things. I'm waking up stronger than I went to bed. And as this kept happening, I figured out, and that's all it did was led me towards my awakening. It was just this this time around here on earth was my last time. This is it. This is my last go round. I've been signaled and shown your cosmic karma is paid. See, y'all got to realize you have cosmic karma. And this will actually dictate how you feel about your life. And you say, well, this keeps happening. I don't understand why my life. But what you do need to know is that it has to happen. And you got to be all right with it. Because nothing can come upon you that you had nothing to do with. And even if you don't consciously know why something's happening to you, please just realize and remember, if it had nothing to do with you, it would have nothing to do with you. Okay? So a lot of things seem to be out of our control when we're trying to think consciously about it and when we're trying to make sense of certain things that will not make earth sense because they were not formed on earth. So you have that argument where it's not an argument, it's just what some people would say, that we are, our higher selves are asleep in a higher dimension and dreaming this one. Now, when we talk about dimensions, we can go up from 1 all the way to 5, just here on earth very easily, right? 1 is a line, but it's hard to perceive a one-dimensional thing. Because we are in the third dimension, it's hard for us to perceive something that's one dimension. It's hard to see a width without seeing a height, even if it's very minuscule. So a one-dimensional thing we almost wouldn't be able to see. A two-dimensional thing would have width and height. A three-dimensional thing would have sides that we could actually perceive, even if it was by moving around them. Now, let me re-explain this. The dimension you're in denotes how you perceive the realm. So, this is how you prove that you're in the third dimension, because everything you're looking at is two-dimensional. Look around your room right now. I don't care what it is you look at, whatever person you look at, they are flat. Every single thing you look at is two-dimensional. This is because we are in the third dimension, right? The third planet from the sun, the third chakra from crown chakra. We have to understand what this stuff means. You got 3 chakras down, you got heart chakra. You start from the bottom, you got 3 chakras up, then you got heart chakra. This is the center of the universe. Now you can think back and understand why they were having these types of arguments in the past. And people were saying, Earth is the center of the galaxy. Guys, you got to take these conversations deeper. They're not always speaking literal. A lot of people speak metaphysical. So when you start breaking these codes down, and I think this can only really happen once you start going through the awakening, because other than that, you're going to have this cognitive dissonance where you can't separate your mind from learned things and learned behavior. That's probably one of the hardest things to do, is to grab yourself as a whole and snatch yourself away from a learned behavior. That's some shadow work, man. That's some real tough stuff. That's alchemy. That's a form of alchemy, of changing and transmuting energy. So when we're talking about being in the third dimension, perceiving things in the second dimension, that's how you know where you are. If you were able to perceive things in in the third dimension, right? In 3 dimensions. Why do you think they make 3D games? Come on, guys. Why do you think they're making things where they're literally playing with dimensions? They're making things where they're saying, put these glasses on and you can see in 3D. Now, what dimension, this is a quick quiz, what dimension would you have to be in to perceive things in 3D? You would have to be in the 4th dimension. No, the 5th. Because the 4th dimension is time. It is a temporal dimension. It is only time. And I don't say only to make time a minuscule thing. I'm saying only because you can't get in it. It lays atop of the 3rd. The 5th dimension is akin to the dream dimension, the dream realm. And in the Bible, this realm is referred to as the land of Nod, N-O-D. Look up in the Bible and read stories about going to the land of Nod. This is about going to sleep and having a dream. Okay? So this is why they say you're going to nod off, right? So I'm just showing you these simple connections with these little baby codes that have people deeply tricked. So that's why in a dream, you're able to perceive yourself outside of yourself. You're in a different dimension. This is what they call an out-of-body experience. Out-of-body experience, you're in the 5th dimension. You're in a very delicate, unstable dimension, the 5th dimension. Very unstable. Why is it unstable? Because you belong on Earth. But you're able to travel. You guys got to understand what you're doing when you lay down, sleep, and dream. You're dying. Every single night, you die. This is the physical, temporal, or temporary representation of death. It is infused with time. So at some time, you will wake up again. This is also symbolic of the bigger cycle that sits on top of this. At some point, you should wake up. How do I know that sleep is death? Because you become unconscious. That's how I know. And because I'm an avid dreamer, I travel. Every time I close my eyes and go to sleep, I'm gone. I come back to the body and I deal with this place every day of my life. That's how I know. I've been there a million times over. So when you're in the 5th dimension, which is a very unstable dimension, you can't stay there. This is why you're forced to wake up again. You can't live there forever. If anything too drastic happens that causes your conscious mind to start waking up, that is what's going to happen. Now, follow me. Waking up from a deep dream can be a shock. Huh? I said waking up from a deep dream could be a shock. This is why some people can't wake up here. Not comfortably. It just won't happen. It is an uncomfortable experience by nature. Who's been woke up before when they didn't naturally wake up? This is what I'm trying to show you. You cannot go around waking people up. Let them dream. The 5th dimension is an unstable place, and this is tied into tree knowledge, right? Because the trees of earth or heart, the things that root in the heart, is how you make it home. This is also why they say home is where the heart is. This is earth. All these things have to collapse into you. So the tree representation and the roots in earth represent you. Now, this is when we get into the tree of life. This is when we get into the spinal cord. This is when we get into the brain stem. This is when we understand and understand how we are built as the same things as the things we're perceiving, but don't fully understand the roles that they are playing in the unseen. A tree outside is just a tree outside until you understand and overstand that that is you. That's all of us. Stop cutting down trees. Now, the people that tear up this earth are the same people that would tear your heart out. Think about this. The ones with no connection to this place, where the sun that actually gives this place life will destroy them. The ones that have it in their heart to not settle here and just want to control it, they're only acting out their own heart's desires. They're not tethered to this place the way some of us are. Because for some of us, we're in class to learn. And some are just being class clowns. Come on, y'all. So, the trees just represent you being rooted here. And this is why you always return here. This is also why you wake up in the morning from death, right? This is why we go, and it's why we call it morning. Think about it, people. This is why we say to each other, good morning. This is another way of saying, this ain't a sad morning because you're not still dead. Remember, you mourn when someone passes on. That is why in some communities you'll hear people say grand rising instead of good morning. I don't get mixed up with words. There was a time I went through those phases where I started to become extremely careful about everything I said and did because I knew the ramifications. But I only did that until I raised my energy power levels up high enough to dictate my own reality. I don't have to be picky about what I say and do. I fully accept myself. You see? Acceptance is always the key, trust me. So, the argument or the conversation also goes into, we're down here playing the avatars. We exist only in brain electricity. We are electric only. We are energy in a vessel. Some people can't even move their body the way they want to move their body. So how can you so suredly say that you are who you think you are? You can't even control every bit of yourself. What do you mean? You are granted that body, to use that body, to go get your lesson. Return that body to where it came from and move on. Graduate. So death in that conversation is the graduation, just in case you wanted to link that. Right? So you got movies like Avatar and stuff like that you can watch where it's kind of another example. Where do you guys think they get all these ideas? And then even in something like Avatar, I'm just thinking now, there's something about the tree, right? It's always going to be like that. You look at movies like Black Panther, it's the tree, right? It's the purple tree, the color of crown chakra. He's laying there and he's talking to the ancestors, right? Your roots. Come on, guys. This is all right in front of everybody. It's not mystic at all. How you going to believe in time? How you believe in the fourth dimension and you adhere to it, you show up and get where you got to go according to it, but you don't want to acknowledge the other dimensions. So, for those of you that dream, You know the difference between a dream where you know you're dreaming, which is a lucid dream, and a dream where you don't know you're dreaming, which is a regular dream. Now, I show people all the time how to have lucid dreams. I don't suggest any of that. I know how to do it because I've had plenty of lucid dreams. They're fun. But I'm at a point where I like the universe to give me the dreams that I'm to have, right? But yes, there are plenty of ways to force yourself to dream or to get into that state where you can dream, and also give yourself a lucid dream. And for those of you who have never had a lucid dream, I'm going to do a whole dream episode. But a lucid dream is when you actually realize you're dreaming and you're able to still experience the dream. And when you're new at it, it only happens for a limited time until you become too conscious, too excited, and you will quickly wake up. Now, you got to have a ton of lucid dreams to get good enough at it to put your energy in that in-between place to actually hang out for a while and explore. Once you get to that level and you're exploring in lucid dreams, you can veer off the path. You can go to houses, doors, buildings, people. You can talk to them. You can ask them questions. You can open doors that seem like you wasn't supposed to go that way. I've done all these things. And what those things do is gives you some type of gift, power, and ability unlock when you come back here. I guarantee you. That's how I've moved from where I've been to here. I guarantee you. I've done everything in these dreams. Everything that I couldn't do here, I've done there. Just for fun. Some things I was forced to do. Because once you are in these things where you're believing it and it's real, real is real, man. So you can sit down here and argue about what's real and are we in the Matrix and all that. But what you need to focus on is just the actual experience. Don't talk about it, be about it. Y'all know what I'm saying. So the dream becomes lucid, right? Now, this is a lucid dream is the same as saying somebody is waking up in this reality. Becoming awakened is equivalent to being in a dream and realizing you're dreaming. So, that being said, you mean to tell me people have gone into dreams in the fifth dimension, then, not just unknowingly, but then realized they were dreaming, realized they were in a different dimension, and stayed and played around. Because they love that feeling. So what I'm trying to tell you is that how can you have those experiences and not understand and understand and then overstand that is just the physical / spiritual experience representation of this one that is less unseen and more seen, more gross, where you can still wake up, but it's going to be a tougher process. It's going to be a little nastier, a little grittier. It ain't going to be as pretty. And when you wake up here, there's no waking up again from this. Unless you want to reference death, the great divider. Now, for those of you that fear death, please, that means you're definitely still asleep because you don't get what this whole thing's about. The word die only means to split. That which has been split or divided from. That's why when you have two dice, they're dice. But when you reference them individually, they're die. Right? So this is just a simple way to trace back through the roads of division that start to happen once you die. Your consciousness divides from the mind, from the body. Body's on its own now. It's probably going to rot. Everything starts to split. Your consciousness starts to split from your memories and your feelings. Everything starts to divide and go off back into the cycle. These are things I've experienced and seen. If I told y'all some of the things I've been allowed to see in dreams, it might blow your mind. But this is an amazing experience once you figure it out and stop stressing the actual events. We focus too much on the events, which causes the events to override energetically everything else. And now everything is based upon how you feel about the next event. They love having us in that state. That's a root chakra state. Heart chakra connects with crown chakra. So this is another on earth as heaven, right? Reference. Because heart chakra and crown chakra go together all day long. How can I prove this for you real fast? You ever heard somebody say you'll have the desires of your heart? Your heart is the first communicator to your mind. They're looking to each other. They want to be in sync. Your heart does not want to be in conflict with your mind. So the experience factor in a dream is always real. And even if you get waking up from a dream, isn't it cool that you can still leave with a parting gift? Isn't it cool that you can still come back with something that you took from the dream? I've done this many times. You know the first thing, you know what I do now every time I have a lucid dream? This is my favorite thing to do in dreams. Once I realize I'm dreaming, I immediately start reading things. I find things to read, numbers, words. To me, those are the quickest ways to get your lesson and get out of there. Pick up a book, anything, read it. Now, a white person will tell you can't read in dreams. And they'll also tell you that you dream in black and white. None of those things are true. Might be true for them, I'm not sure. That's why we need to write more books. So, and look, if any guys out there know how to write books, get with me. I'll do a dream book. No problem. Got years of experience in dreams. I've studied Freud, Sigmund Freud, and all these guys. They don't know what they're talking about. Carl Jung. They know things to an extent, but I can see the extent of their knowledge. And it's embarrassing. It's like, hey lady, your slip is showing. Right? So, the lucid dream is just akin to waking up in this realm once again. And the DNA is the recording of your experience, your feelings, and how you accepted it or not. And the things you don't accept come back around because at some point they have to be accepted. Now, imagine this. You go through your entire life, you only accept the quote unquote good things. What do you think is going to happen to your child? They're going to get to have all those things back around that you didn't accept, and then they're going to have to accept them with a erased mind. They don't understand why their life is like this. Well, the sins of the father have to be revisited by the son because guess what? Whatever an adult person, whoever does, you have done that. The only way that can now be rectified is if something else in your genetics corrects it. So on earth, when we get back to this mission, talking about this mission, talking about the awakening. Why does this matter here on earth? Because that is what you're here for. You're here to learn while remembering. You already know this stuff. But you got to consciously go through the experience again. When you're allowed to awaken, or start that process. Not an overnight thing. This thing takes years for some people. I'm still in it. It is just the next stage of existing. You're less of a slave to yourself. And when you're a slave to yourself, that means that yourself is a slave to something greater than it, or whatever is being perceived to be greater than it. That is all a part of being asleep. You don't even feel like the dream is yours half the time unless you realize this is a dream. I'm having it. But again, once you realize that, you end up getting kicked out. You're messing it up. You know too much. You got to go. Think about that. You wake up from a dream, that information is so raw, it don't even want you to really bring it here. It'll try to zap it from you. And I'll give you a tip. If you want to remember your dreams, stay in the bed for a second. The moment you get out the bed and put your feet on the floor, this has been proven. This has been shown with brain, when they put the nodes and the whatnot on your brain so they can see your activity. This has been shown that when your feet hit the floor, it reconnects you in a way. It's those roots in the ground. It rebinds you to this place. Because what you got to understand is that this place stands on your imagination. And when you turn to put your feet on the floor in the morning without even looking down, thinking, remembering the floor, you don't have to remember anything. That's how rooted in this place we are. Think about that. You don't even question if the floor is there. So what happens is once you reaccept this place, and it starts with simply putting your feet on the floor, your mind starts to get wiped. I've had years to figure out how to remember dreams. There's many techniques you can use. I remember all my dreams now. It's not a problem. So these are just the lessons you're allowed to come back with. That's the beauty of dreaming. I know people that don't even dream. So imagine if a person doesn't dream, how far they are away from awakening. Wow. Because a dream is just an insight from yourself. Damn, you can't even connect with yourself? You need to change your diet, stop watching TV, drink more water, get away from some people. It's some stuff you got to do that's drastic because you're missing something. Imagine people that don't dream, but they walk around happy, talking about they happy. I don't believe it. Not on a deeper level. I don't buy it. Most people I see got a frown on their face every time I see them, especially black people, especially black women. Just looking ready to go off on somebody. I don't know what the hell the problem is. I don't know. But back to the awakening. This is something that once you start getting a hold of this, guys, just accept it. It's tough. It's long. It's hard. It's going to make you feel like, is this right? It's going to make you question everything. You got to have good people in your corner. You got to have somebody you can talk to. If you got nobody you can talk to, drop me a line, reach out. Even if you got somebody you can talk to, drop me a line anyway, reach out. You guys know I don't mind that. That's why I leave my email. It's not a big deal. So I'll probably do more parts to this, but I'm going to let that be part one of, we'll call this one Genetic Awakening. Genetic Awakening. I just wanted you guys to link in what your genetics do with what you're doing here. And also understand that when they're giving you things called mRNA medicine, it's technology. It's actually referred to by them as mRNA technology. When you shoot a technology into yourself and it's allowed to go and play with your genetics, please consider future generations and give them a chance. All right? Ultimately, it's up to you. So, hope this has been somewhat informative for some of you, and thanks for listening. So this has been another episode of My 3 Cents. I'll be back on here soon. I encourage you to listen to any random episode. Just go to the list and randomly pick one and listen to it. Don't worry about the name. I don't name things for clickbait. I don't name things for buzzwords. I want you to find it because you found it. So until next time, this has been My 3 Cents. Thank you, all my supporters. Thank you for the ones that are going to support me and want to support me. I'll put the Cash App in the description. I'll put my email. And as always, I'll put the link to, well, not always, but I recently started doing this because I've been forgetting to do this. This will be the last thing I mention. It's a website where I like to get my shirts. I wear these shirts all the time in different colors, different types, because they energize me. People wonder why I like to be in a good mood. I'm a monster. I'm powerful, but I'm always in a great mood. I'm only nice because I want to be, not because I'm a nice guy. Don't forget that. I enjoy it. Don't catch me when I don't. So, but yeah, I'll leave the link in the description to where I get these shirts. Everyday Diligence. Shout out to Everyday Diligence. Actually, I'm gonna have him on, the owner, the founder. I'm gonna let him tell his own story. Matter of fact, I'm gonna do an interview with him coming up. I reached out to him today, so we're gonna knock that out. But I will leave you the link. Support people that support our community, right? So until next time, this has been My 3 Cents. Wholeness out to all of you guys. Wholeness and all kinds of gratitude.